Good morning, team. We've got the front row forward and the 2RF cash cows here. For the front row forward, we're under 350k. For the 2RF, we're under 400k in that range there. There's so many guys in the value position, so that's the way we've played it in this one. And we have one trial in the books, and we're going to analyze these guys from there. Obviously, if you watch this after the second trial, then you obviously know a bit more information than what's written in here. It's a great time to go through this because it's getting closer and closer to finding out which positions exactly we're going to spend some money, which ones we're likely to try and go for a cash cow. And for me, it's likely in that front row forward that we want someone cheaper. In our 2RFs, we do need to find a couple of cheapies as well, considering we're likely to go for sort of 3 or 4 of the more expensive guys. And in that 2RF, just to go with that one, I just found out the news on Piakura. At this stage, unlikely for round 1. They're going to push for it, but still traveling with an injury, I just don't see it being any good. Why don't you give him a couple extra weeks anyway to get right for round 2? So let's just say Piakura is out. So do you go down on him? Do you go up on him as an option as well? We'll go through those likely scenarios. But Liam Knight kicks things off to start off with there, and really that game the other night wasn't great for him. Let's be honest. But let's watch the second trial. But I think he's unlikely to be in our sides just on the likely minutes that he's going to get. He came on in the second half, and you would have expected in that trial that he would have played some minutes in the first, given King didn't play huge minutes to start off with. You had Farmasili as well, who's potential. I didn't actually put him in this list in the FRF, but I just don't think he's going to get enough minutes, so I just don't see it worth it. But he might be even ahead, Farmasili, of Liam Knight there. So 332k, it's going to be very, very tough to select him, in my opinion. But needs the 40 minutes and PPM back up a little bit to sort of 1.1. And there's 10 points of value, which should be cool. So if that happens at some point, then he'll be an option there for sure. He won't play as bad as he did the other night with the drop balls. Spencer Leniu is up next at 332, guys. The average of 32.6 as well. He had a really big PPM drop last year from 1.26 to 1.01. with those extra minutes. So he went from sort of that low to mid 20s minutes all the way up to a 33. And, is that a sign of things to come? If he was to get the 33 minutes or so, really is very unlikely to increase from that. He might have a bit of a 5-point upgrade with the improved PPM, but I just don't see much further on that. You know that he's going to be there week to week, you'd imagine. So that's some consistency. Lack of risk in that, which you're not sure with someone like Liam Knight or a Fletcher Baker or a Willison or Mariota. There's a lot of guys in this list, obviously, the unsure of for that at this point. So that's something to note. That is helpful, obviously. Fletcher Baker, 311, guys. He had an average of 30.5 last year. So he's an interesting one. His PPM's gone down each year of the last 3 when he has increased his minutes just ever so slightly every year. So he's going to need about the 37 minutes to be worth it. Sort of up 7 from where he's currently at, average of 30 minutes with the 1 PPM. Last year, can it happen? I suppose that's the big question mark. Obviously, coming off the groin surgery, there's a few things going against him. Obviously, Xavier Willison and his increase into the quality of play that he has become, that's for sure. And the step up with no injuries for Willison. So something to note, that's for sure with Fletch on this one. Really, there's lots of injury worries in the off-season with him. And the first trial was okay, but I'm not super excited. He's fairly cheap, which is good, but not super excited by him. Davi Moale, so 268k, we get a lot cheaper now. He had a great first trial, scoring a try, got some really good points out of that. But really, the question mark sits, where did the extra mins come from with the 27 last season? We had Sean Kepi have a really, really good game, and shout out to the Whisperer for him, putting him in his team so quickly. And they've got the guys like Shaq Mitchell, obviously, that is improving as well. JR is going to stick on that edge, but you've got Tallis Duncan that can play some middle. Obviously, Totola, Burgess. There's a lot of guys in here. I don't know where the extra minutes come from when he played 27 a game last year to get his 26 points. He would need 30 odd, and it's just not going to happen, unfortunately, for Davy. So I think we have to leave him out. In that one there. Xavier Willison, so he has a really cracking PPM of 1.53 with the 2 tries, which is pretty wild. But in the shortened amount of games that he's played, a super exciting prospect. Scored a try on the weekend to show that what he can do in the limited minutes. Really for him, 25 minutes at least is what you're going to need. Hopefully you get the same amount of minutes as what he averaged last year, and then he can get up into the mid 30s. It's he's an exciting prospect. So I think that upside that he has compared to someone of Baker is very helpful. And if you want him as like your fourth front row forward, I'm not going to push you away. But obviously, it's how cheap are you going in this position? Considering you're obviously going to have Sam Hughes, you might be having a Liam Henry and guys like that as well, which is where I'm looking at the moment. So Wilson, a really solid one, but how much money is he seriously going to make? If he ends up being the edge in round one with Pia Kura being out, then he could definitely have a good score there and help out his rolling average. That's something to kind of think of. And then if he goes back to some lower minutes, it's okay because he's still got that big score in his first three games there, which would be helpful. So something to note there for sure. That's Mariotta at 255.9 there. The average is 25 last year. Again, the question mark there is, where are the minutes even with Horse out? When you've got Smithies coming over, Hosking, like does Whitehead play some middle? There's a few question marks there, but the big thing with Atta is that I wrote this before watching that trial on the weekend, and that trial was exceptional. He looked bigger, he looked stronger, and he ran with force, tackled really well also. So he's improved, and he's definitely could be a smoky in anyone's side. Sam Hughes, obviously, guys, the mins are available there. He dominated that trial, absolutely. So I'd be locking him in, whether that's your front row 2, 3, or 4. It probably doesn't. It will matter, obviously, if it's front row 2, but he's a lock in, and I'd feel very safe playing him for a solid score each week, and he wouldn't let you down and get a 15 or a 20. I doubt. Anyway, someone that if you got the minutes, I think is really, really got to be really, really good. Obviously, being priced down on his 29 average from his couple of games last year, but the 30-minute position is available there at the Panthers to be taken with Spencer Leniu leaving now. He had 33 minutes a game. So you had Hosking in there as well. There's a couple of guys that have moved on. So, something to note that there's definitely minutes available in that 17. And if he's in that 17, he's in my team, I think, very clearly at 238.9k. You can't go too wrong, obviously, apart from if you have too many of these cheap guys that aren't making money, then you could be in a little bit of trouble, that's for sure. But also believe with his incredible work rate in Cup and NRL, his PPM's great, that he could be a guy that could just average 30 or 40, 35 or something like that and make a little bit of cash at minimum, even with sort of 20 odd minutes. And if he could get a 30 odd minute, if there's an injury mid-game, he plays bigger minutes. There's a few things that could happen for him to do well, considering he has a very Supercoach friendly game. Hopefully he plays that trial in England when they go over there. Obviously didn't get to watch him play in that first week of trials. So he's definitely someone to look at for sure. And that's what I'm looking at with Liam. Bentakura scored a try in that trial game on the weekend. He's played a couple in a row now. Big attacking weapon. I just think he's a little bit behind the couple of guys we spoke about. Like if you're looking at that bench for the Broncos, let's just say that Pia Kura was there is one option. Jaden Hunt, a good chance of playing on the edge otherwise, but let's just that's 1 week. From round 2 onwards, that bench is likely to be a smoothie. If it wasn't a smoothie, then it would be a milkshake. No, I'm kidding. If it wasn't a smoothie, then it would be Tristan Saylor, okay? And then the bench from there, you got a mixture between, I think it's going to be either Willison or Tapau. Like, crazy that Marty could actually miss out, and he could be the 18th man. So, you've got Bakers, you've got Hetherington, the other couple of guys there. So 3 of those 4 are going to make it with one of those 2 utility hooker type of players. So Takura, I don't think is in the fray at the moment, in the frame, but definitely someone to look at. 2RF, the cash cows from there. So we've got Satili Tupanua up top. He's the first one we cover here, and it probably works out well given he had a really, really good trial on the weekend there. Really, I don't think there's enough value, and let's start with why. So his 2 best seasons are 53 and 55 in the previous 2 years, with over 70 minutes he was getting in those, right? So that's something to note as well, that over 70 minutes. He started in the first trial and he played really well, scoring a try. He looked probably one of the best edges that they had. Obviously, Wong, Crichton, Satili looked really, really solid, and you got Nat Butcher there doing his thing, but he, you know what you're getting from him, basically. You're not sure with the other guys at this point. Hard to see him playing near the 70 minutes is where I have the issue with him. And sort of 46 average in 59 minutes seems a little bit more likely, and that's a lot of the scores that you saw when he played that type of minutes. If he got the spot, and I think that's probably where he's going to be at best. So it's sort of 7 points of value and could definitely be okay, but is that enough to be warranted and worthy in your side, unless he was getting bigger minutes? And you doubt that he's going to be improving on his 2 best seasons, And where does he, how does he get the 70 plus minutes? I just don't see it. That's where my worry is on Statili, but he could definitely, make some money and do a job if you were interested in him. Aaron Clark at 371. He really needs that 13 spot to with good minutes to work really well in your side. Average of 47 in 60 minutes in 2022, which is really cool. So 11 points of value. He has a fairly bad PPM, to be honest with you, at that level. He had a couple of, a stretch of games last year and a stretch of games in 22. He did really well, but outside of that, wasn't amazing. Usually, when he gets to that 13, he gets to about that 1 PPM figure. That is solid, but his middle minutes, hooker minutes, they're a fair bit lower in the PPM, obviously, there. But watch the second trial where he likely is to feature. Raymond Faitala-Mariner, 363.2, average of 35.6. So he's fighting for an edge spot at the Dragons. He had one good year in his last 5, which is, where he'd make enough value there over the 45 range. If Leilua comes over, really, then he's going to lose most of his potential value. But does he actually come over? Does Faitala-Mariner get it? Does he play some middle? There's a lot of question marks on Raymond, and we need to see him play next week. He didn't play in this first trial. If he's starting round 1, he's definitely an option, but that doesn't come without any risk either of change with any of those guys that could play on an edge. There's like 4 or 5 of them. And then depending what happens with Lucy Leilua. Morgan Smithies, he's cheap enough, right? At 345k, that if he got big minutes for 2 weeks and then a little bit lower in round 3, he would make some money. But is that even worth sort of the one price rise for him to then potentially lose some minutes and then you'd have to change him out? I think he's definitely a big risk, but look, he can come out and play pretty big minutes in the start of this, and I suppose for some reason the Raiders are looking at Lucy Leilua as well. They don't need another forward, bro. I don't know what they're doing. Anyway, just to say he averages 50 over the first couple of weeks, then goes to the bench and hits the 30, right? That's 130 points over that first few rounds for an average of 40 odd. Which does he make a lot of money at that? Given he's priced down here at the 32 for Say Fast. That means he's priced at just under 30, about the 34 range, which with a 40 odd average only gives him about 10 points of value, and it's one price change, not multiple, which you'd need for him. So it's hard to take him, but I do understand why you look at him at 345, and I've definitely looked at him myself. It's just, a few question marks on that, and if that's enough or if he absolutely dominates. But let's have a look at the trial, have a look at the second trial, and then go from there, because he didn't play the first one. Kai Pearce-Paul at 345. Obviously, just got to see Dylan Lucas absolutely dominate in that first half. I have a bit of a love interest with him and Terrell May at the moment. But really, if Kai Pearce-Paul is playing in this second trial, it's and he gets named in the starting side, then we definitely look at him. If he's named on the bench, I think we can hold off and kind of look at him if he moves into the starting side. Could be at the perfect timing when sort of he's ready to make some cash in his third or fourth round, right? So I think he's definitely someone that we should definitely likely be looking at from that sort of round 2-3 onwards, if he doesn't have any injury worries, because we need to look at that first, I think, and if he actually can dominate in the NRL or not. But Hastings and everyone has had plenty of raps on him for sure. So if he named to start in round 1, we could look at him. Super talented, more talent in terms of try scoring ability and attacking stats than what Smithies has. So at the same price, you probably look to him. Alex Seyfarth, the man. Alex, what a guy. Tried a 13 and Benji has obviously talked him up. He looked like he had a little bit more vigor and attack this year. He ran through and bent the line a little bit, which was cool to see. Scored a try at that, which was very, very helpful. He could definitely be in my round one side if I need a cheaper body there that could make a little bit of money. Obviously with the buy in round 1, it's not ideal, but it could be a vice captain looper if you need it or something like that. The 1.1 ppm in the middle last season, he had a 32 average in 29 minutes. If you take out some of the other games there, that's for his season there, all in the middle. If this jumped to sort of 50 minutes, I would be expecting a 1 ppm just to drop down a little bit, likely, and that's anywhere between sort of a 10 to 18 points of value there for sure. If that ppm drops or if that ppm stays, you could somewhere between that range, which is cool. And I suppose the potential for Benji to change his mind is a bit scary as well. So a few things on Seyfarth, but I think at 326k you could make that plunge. You could take that plunge for sure. And if one of these other guys seem to work out a bit better around this range, like you've got guys like Tallis Duncan, Smithies, Kai Pearce-Paul, Faitala-Mariner, all within 40k, which I think is very, very helpful if you're looking to set up your 2RF with guys that you could pivot to if they don't happen to work out in a position that has a lot of value, right? But we can't take all of the mid-tier value and try and get all the guns in the other position. You just can't fit them all in, right? Tallis Duncan at 321. There was a fair bit of excitement around Tallis earlier on when we thought he could be playing some edge minutes, but that's unlikely, and he's going to be just, I think, a regular bench guy on this team, and will do a solid job. But an average of what he's priced at a tick over 30, 31 there. I think it's unlikely that he can be really dominant. He could make a little bit of cash, but I don't think that's enough if he's got 30 minutes on the bench, even with a really good PPM. 30, 35 minutes could be enough if he has a 1.2 PPM, but yeah, that's a lot of minutes to try and fit into a small amount of guys on that bench. Kobe Hetherington at 298.6. I was a little bit concerned on the weekend that he came off clutching a little bit at his leg, I believe, but 29.3 for him. Again, where do you fit the minutes into him? He needs to be a 40-minute guy at minimum, right? His 3 PPMs over his 3 years of his career, 1.93 and 0.87. It doesn't give us a lot of hope, as sort of 40 minutes is what he needs at a minimum, as I've got there, to make some money. So check him out in the trial. The first one, he looked solid. He ran hard. He's a bit elusive in the way he runs anyway, but and check out the trials and then whatever Walter says on him over the next week or so. Finette Furiaki. So, had a really good first trial, guys. 292K with the news of Lucy kind of hopefully moving on, whatever it's happening with him. I'd like that to be done at least a week before the season starts, please. Let's just sort that out, Cowboys. Anyway, 28.7 is the average for him from last year, and he's priced at that. And really, for him, it's likely to be on the bench again for the Cows, with Lukey starting, Nanai being there. So, interested if he got the start for sure throughout the season, but at the moment I just don't think it's going to happen, and he's one step closer to being a relevant option, that's for sure. 4 to go, guys. So Ryan Couchman there, 277.7 there. The average is 34 for him. He didn't get named in sort of that starting 17, which is almost at full strength for the charity shield, which was pretty well full strength for them. And he came on and played a few minutes and played solidly as well, but nothing to really get too excited about. Guys, also while I'm here, I'll drop in the league code for my overall NRL and cricket analysis channel in the description. So go down and check that out. And he just made the league now, so we'll get that in and get the guys that are playing fantasy and Supercoach as well. To jump in that'll be super cool to see. But Couchman, we'll leave him out for now. Howarth there at 238.9, average of 44 in this one. So he's still a while away from the starting team, it does seem, with him. Let's avoid it until we know he's really close. But it's sort of good to see him play in the All-Stars game on the weekend, which was nice. He looks solid. Got a decent amount of points, but minutes were low in the 40 odds. Maverick Guy at 204, again, fighting for a spot in the 17. I just don't see it yet. He's probably a little bit outside, needs some injuries to get enough minutes. So, keep an eye out on Maverick. And then Dylan Egan, he made, he was in the 17 jersey for the first trial. And, was solid. It was a solid hit out without showing much in that trial. If he's playing sort of middle, I think that could be, helpful for him to get some decent minutes if coach just likes how he plays. But if he's looking to play, bench edge or something, then that's not something we're going to be interested in, even at 204K. But I really, really, really want a 2RF cheapie at this stage. And Dylan Egan, obviously the cheapest with the most chance, I think, to make a side at this point. But that's our video, guys. Again, jump in that league. Check out the podcast, the socials, these videos as well. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. This preseason has been amazing. And love yous. See you later.